Hi everybody, good to talk to you again. Apologies that we are online and not face to face. I know it's difficult for some people. You have kids at home, you mightn't have great access to the internet, etc. But I'll be sending you these videos, and the worksheets and the lesson plans have already been sent to you via email. Hopefully over the next week or so we'll get going on Teams. I do have the Teams meeting open for this class at the moment, but I don't see anybody on it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and record this video to walk you through the class anyway, and hopefully we'll get a bit more streamlined as the weeks go on. Okay, I have the wrong date on this file here. I'm just going to change it. So it's our lesson plan for today, the 13th of January. Okay, so the first part, there'll be two videos in this for this class, guys. The first part is just a little bit of revision on fractions, decimals, and percents. Okay, and then the second part is to do with exponents or powers or indices. You'll recognize them when you see them, but we haven't done that much work on them. So for people who are unfamiliar with them, don't worry about it. Just concentrate on the fractions, decimals, and percents. And for the rest of you, you can do both parts of the class. All right. So today our first aim is just a bit of fractions, decimals, and percents, some basic concepts on revision. Okay. So just to ease you in gently, if you want to go back and do a little bit of revision on fractions, decimals, percentages, you can have a look at the Maths Antics videos that we've used before. So this one talks about fractions, this one talks about types of fractions, and this one talks about percentages. Okay, so the links are all there. We've used them before. They're nice and short. They're only between, say, 5 and 8 minutes long each, but they're a nice way to revise and to remind yourself of what we've been talking about. Okay, I'm not going to get you to do that now. That's something that you can do when you're ready to look through the whole lesson plan. But I'm not going to play the videos in this recording, or we'll be here all day. Okay. So what I wanted to do was just revise some common fractions and their equivalents. So what I've drawn here is just an ordinary number line going from 0 to 1. And you can see I've got 0 and 1 on both sides of it. 0 and 1 again. Okay. And on the top part, I've just drawn in some fractions, so a quarter, a half, and 3/4. And then on the bottom, the decimal equivalent of each one of those. So let's take a half first, because most people are familiar with a half. Okay, same as 50 cents is half of a euro. Okay, so we would write €1, 1.00, and for 50 cents we write 0.50. Okay, so there's a 0.5. A quarter is half of a half. Okay, we've divided this number in two, so that becomes a quarter. So the decimal equivalent of a quarter is 0.25, which is the same thing as 0.2. So you're doing the same thing all the time. It's just got a different format for the way we express the numbers. And likewise, if 1/4 is 0.25, 1/2 is the same as 2/4. So that's 2.25, which is 0.5. And 3/4 is 0.25 multiplied by 3, which will give you 0.75. Okay. And 1 and 1 are obviously the same. If you add 0.25 to 0.75, you'll get 1. If you add 1/4 to 3/4, you'll get 1. Take your pizza. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is take a look at the chart below. Okay, so there's a column for fractions, some common fractions. There's a column for decimals, and there's a column for percents. All right, so these are all equivalents of each other. These all mean the same thing. Okay, one cake. That's the same as 1.0 cakes. Okay, we don't bother with 0.0 a lot of the time because it doesn't tell us anything more, but it's actually the same number. Okay, it's the same thing, same amount of anything that you're talking about. And if we have the whole cake, then we have 100% of the cake. So 100% is the same as 1.0 is the same as 1. Okay, so what I want you to do now is pause the video, okay, and have a look at these columns, but specifically have a look at the decimal and the percent column, okay? And I have a little comment down here. I can't see it because the camera's in the way. That's not what I want. Okay, it says, first of all, do you notice anything about the numbers in the decimal and percent columns? I'm just going to go back up here, and I want you to pause the video and have a look at the decimal and percent columns and see what you notice about the numbers that are written in here, okay? So take a minute or two to have a look at that, okay? So if you've done that, Okay, you can pause this video while you do that, by the way. So after you've paused it for a few minutes and come back, this is where we're starting from again, okay? You'll notice in the decimal column, so you have 1.0 here, so you have a 1, and then you have a 1, 0, 0 here. Over here you've got a 5, 0.5, and you've got a 5 here. 0.33, you've got 33.3. 2.5, got 2.5 here. 0.2, 2. 0.166, 16.6, and so on, okay? So basically you've got the same numbers in those two columns. Wouldn't you agree? Let me just move down, okay? Whoops. They're just in different places. So what you can do to help you kind of understand this is you can write given you below. Okay, now you don't have to have a nice, blue and pink one. You can write this up at any point, okay? But what I'm saying is you can put in, for say 25%. So that's a 2 there and a 5 there. I'm not actually drawing on it, but you can imagine what it looks like, okay? And then in decimal, that's 0.25, okay? Okay, so the 2 has moved over here and the 5 has moved over here. Okay, there's our decimal point. All right, so we're using the same numbers, they're just in different places. So don't be afraid to draw up your own place value chart and write down those numbers and just see, how many places they've jumped. Because remember, every time that you jump one column to the right on this, you're dividing by 10. The number is getting 10 times smaller. And every time that you jump one column to the left, you see my hand? So that way, you're multiplying by 10. So each of these columns, okay, as we go from here to here, dividing by 10 each time, or from here to here to here to here, you're multiplying by 10 each time. Okay, so do you notice that the numbers in the decimal column and the percent column are the same? They've just moved place. That's the point that we're making here. Okay, where are we? Yeah, we're just up here. So specifically, they've jumped 2 columns to the left. So we said 2 columns to the left. Okay, let me just make sure I have that written the right way. Yeah, the numbers in the decimal column and the percent column are the same. Okay, going from the decimal column, which is this one, the decimal column here, to the percent column, the numbers have all moved 2 places to the left. You've multiplied by 100. Okay, so to get from a decimal to a percentage, you're just multiplying by 100, and you're adding the percentage symbol, okay? So that's what I'm saying here. Specifically, they've jumped 2 columns to the left. Therefore, you've multiplied by 10 by jumping 1 column, and then multiplied by 10 again by jumping another column. That's the same thing as multiplying by 100, because 10 by 10 is 100, okay? The rule for converting a decimal to a percentage, like I said there a second ago, is just to multiply the number by 100 and add a percentage sign, okay? And then to go the other way, the rule for converting a percentage to a decimal is just to divide the number by 100. So instead of going to the left, you're going to the right, you're getting smaller, and take away the percentage sign. And don't forget to add in your decimal point there. So now you know how to get from a decimal to a percentage, or how to get from a percentage to a decimal. Okay. Now, what if you want to, or what do you do if you want a fraction, or if you have a fraction and you want to convert it? So let's take the fraction a quarter, okay? Look at the way the fraction is written. It's a 1 over a 4, okay? That's the same as dividing 1 by 4. So go ahead and do that on your calculator, okay? You can pause this video and do that on your calculator. Okay, welcome back. So you'll see that you get 0.25. Now you have a decimal number, okay? A quarter is the same as 0.25, and you can just do that by dividing the top number by the bottom number in your fraction, okay? You also saw that on the number line above. So that's the rule for converting a fraction to a decimal. Just divide the top number, which we call the numerator, if you remember that, of the fraction by the bottom number, which is the denominator of the fraction. And now that you have your number in decimal format, you can go back to the previous section and convert it to a percentage as well. So what if you have a decimal and you want to convert it to a fraction? Now, this is where your place value chart comes in very useful, okay? If you have the decimal number 0.25 and you don't know that it's the same as a quarter, you can just write it into the place value chart, okay? And that will show you that 0.25 is the same as 2/10, okay, and 5/100. And let me just go back up for a second just to show you where I'm talking about. Oops, gone too far. Okay, sorry. Right, here we go. So the 2 would go here. So here's our decimal point. So that we'd have a 0 here, so we don't need to worry about that. We have a 2 in here, so that's 2/10, okay, or 2/10. And we've got 5 in here in the hundredths place, so that's 500ths. Okay, that's what I'm talking about further down. So the 2 here and the 5 here. So let's go back to where we were talking about that. Yeah. So that will show you that 0.25 is the same as 2/10 and 500ths. Now we can convert 2/10 to hundredths by multiplying the top number and the bottom number by 10. So we get 20/100. Okay, that's just an equivalent fraction. So we're saying we don't want to call these tenths, we want to call them hundredths. So let's make the bottom 100, which means we've multiplied the 10 by 10. So now we have to multiply the 2 by 10. So that tells us that 2/10 is the same as 20/100ths. And now we can add the 20/100ths and the 500ths to get 25/100. 25/100 is the same as 0.25. And we can simplify 25/100. So to simplify, remember, you are making an equivalent fraction, but you're making it in the most simple form that you can, which means that you're dividing. Okay, you want the numbers to be smaller. Okay, but you've got to do the same thing to the top and the bottom, otherwise it's not equivalent anymore. So we can divide the top and the bottom number here by 25, and we get a quarter, because if we divide 25 by 25, we get 1. That's the 1 there. And if we divide 100 by 25, we get 4. So a quarter is the same as 0.25. So the rule to convert a decimal number, there we go. The rule to convert a decimal number is to create a fraction with tenths, hundredths, thousands, or whatever you need, okay, and then simplify it. So some examples. 0.1 is 1/10. 0.33, so here we have 3/10 and 3/100ths. So we call that 33/100ths, and that can be simplified to 1/3. 0.125, so we have 1/10, 2/100ths, and 5/1000ths. So now we need to put everything into thousands. So that's the same as 125/1000, which can be simplified to 1/8. Okay, if you divide 1,000 by 125, you will get 8. 125 divided by 125 is 1. And if we take this one, 0.083, so this is no tenths, 8/100ths, and 3/1000ths, which is 83/1000. And that can be simplified to 1/12. Okay. So I hope that kind of makes sense. It's just a bit of revision. So I'm asking here, do you notice the trend here? If your decimal number has one decimal place, then you can express this number in tenths. If your number has 2 decimal places, you can express the number in hundredths over 100. And if your number has 3 decimal places, then you can express this number in thousands, or the number over 1,000, and so on. So have a look at the 2 worksheets attached and see if you can fill them out. I'm going to show them to you now. So this one here, decimal percent fraction chart, do that first. So let me just flick over, hopefully, to that particular chart. Here we go. And it's shaded in X amount of them. In this case, it's 84 of them are shaded in. It's easier to count the ones that aren't shaded in here because there's fewer of them. So that's 84 out of 100. That's the same thing as 0.84, okay? Because that's 8/10 and 4/100ths, so that becomes 0.84, sorry. And then anything over 100, okay, any fraction out of 100, to present that as a percent, you just take the number on top, because it's 84 out of a possible 100, that's 84%. Or if you already have your decimal point, you just go, well, I'll just multiply that by 100 and add a percentage sign, okay? So what I want you to do is do the rest of those. Might be a little bit hard to see on the screen, but on the paper itself, you'll be able to see where they're shaded and not shaded, and finish that chart. Okay, and the other one that I want you to look at is fractions as percent. Fraction is here. Okay, and all I want you to do here is just write the percent. Okay, so 23 out of 100, that's going to be 23%. Okay, so with the fraction, to convert it to a percentage, you just take the top number because it's already out of 100 and add your percentage sign. Okay, so just a little bit of practice to revise what we've done previously. Okay, thanks. Bye.